Uh, I'm super happy to be here, finally alive, not just online. Thank you very much for coming here, listening to me, and I hope you won't be disappointed. So first of all, I will tell you a few words about myself. During years, I worked on different projects. I worked on commercials. I worked on movies. I worked on cinematics, AAA games, indie games, TV series. These are just few examples of them. And every company, every project has a different pipeline, different tools, especially when we are combining movies and games. And in my work, I try to combine all the knowledge from both of these industries and use it in my day-to-day basics. In my previous presentations, I was mostly talking about pipeline of creating a cutscene, of how to organize everything, how are the proper stages, how to create it in an organized way to have the best possible result. Today, we'll be focusing mostly on cameras and editing. And when we are designing the cutscene, we are not using just the camera. We have plenty of other elements like characters, like acting, lighting, music, sound effects. All of these things influence what we see on a screen and how we experience the story. And creating cameras and edit is some way of organizing all of this into one visually interesting story. And to do that, let's look at all of the elements we are using. So first of all, like in painting, in art, we have the composition. And during years, thousands of years, hundreds of years, we, as humans, develop some rules of the composition. Some of them came from nature, some of them came from math, or just our careful observation. And in the same rules we are using in paintings, we can use in movies and in games, because our perception is the same. And if we will put enough attention on the composition on every shot we have, and we will focus on the details, we can be sure that our cutscene will tell our story in the most appealing way and will be most interesting in the visual way. When we think about camera, first thing which comes in mind is lenses. It's a tricky thing and influences our work a lot because the same sequence, the same acting will be experienced by the viewer totally different if we use a longer lens or if we use shorter lens. And in general, we have some ideas like, yeah, we want to make a picture of beautiful landscape. So we are using wider lens so to be able to see. It must happen, something like this, always. Sorry about that. We have to focus, so if we are creating a wider shot, and with landscape, we are using wider shot. If we want to create a portrait, so we need the lenses which fits our eyes the best. So they are medium lenses. And if we want to have a close-up and emphasize the detail, we are using longer lens. Okay, in general, it works, but not always. And it's not so easy. Let's imagine the situation. We have a thief and we have a policeman. Policeman is running and trying to catch the thief. If we will record our thief with medium lens and our policeman with wider lens, we'll have a feeling that policeman is running faster than our thief. So in general, the whole sequence will be like, yeah, this policeman, for sure, he will catch this thief. But if we'll do a opposite way, and we will record our policeman with a medium lens and our thief with wider lens, then we'll have the feeling that, yeah, our thief is much faster and our policeman will never catch him. So we have exactly the same animation, exactly the same movement, and we are just changing the lens, and the whole experience is totally different. What's also important in lenses is that we have to remember that very wide and very long lenses distort the picture a little bit, or even more. Especially the wide lenses when we are using them on faces, like on this example. It doesn't mean it's a wrong thing, because when we very often when we are showing or some supernatural stuff, or if we are showing mental illnesses, very often we use very wide shot on faces to see this distortion and show that something is off. And a great example of this is if you saw the Netflix show Arcane. In a lot of places, when we see Jinx when she is conversating with herself, they are used longer lenses on very long lenses on very short lenses on her face. So we have this distortion. Before we move on, just let's take a quick look how the same thing can look on an example. So in the first, we have a static camera and we are just changing lenses. So our experience on the environment is totally different. And in the second one, we are changing lenses and we are adjusting the camera to our character to have it in the same scale. And as you can see, the character is slightly different because of the distortion, but the experience of the environment is totally different. In the longer lens, we have like big character in the show. And in the last one, we have a small character in a huge environment. When we are talking about cameras, we also have to mention depth of field, because this is the best tool to manipulate our viewer to look at the particular thing on the shot. So we can really manipulate how he experiences our whole cutscene. But shots are not pictures. They are not paintings. We don't have just one nice picture with the composition. We have 24, 25, 30, or even more frames per second. And all of these frames have to work together. And we have a lot of rules also, how move to camera, what works, what not. But the most important thing about all of the telling the story is that camera can't distract from the story. Camera should support the story, not distract from it. But even if we have like nice compositions, beautiful shot with nice movement, but it's nothing without editing. As the creator of cutscenes, we create the sequence. It's a bunch of shots connected together in an organized way, and it tells the story. And by years, mostly in cinematography, we develop some rules like 180-degree rule, all cutting on movement, on all of these elements which works the best when we are connecting the shots. And nowadays, we have access to everything, like to cameras, to softwares. It's very easy to start doing something. So the biggest challenge right now is to create content with a high quality. Very often I see like the cutscenes from the games that, yeah, we have a very long dialogue. It might be boring. So let's create 10 different cameras, 10 different angles, and let's cut. Okay, this one is too long because we still see the same guy too long on the screen. Yeah, let's cut. Nope, it doesn't work that way. In good cutscene, the same like in a good movie, every cut matters, every movement matters. So everything what's happening and everything we are changing must have a reason. So if we know very well the composition rules, the editing rules, movement, we have a clear vision of what is important in our cutscene and what is less important, just using just few cameras will allow us to tell a story in a very interesting way. And yeah, I'm aware it's easier said than done. So I wanted to show you a few examples and analyze them with you to prove that I'm actually right in this point. So I will show you a few examples. But first, if we are working in a cutscene, we need to know if it's the first person or third person cutscene. And we will analyze two examples of each to see the difference and how some things are similar and some demand some slightly different approach. And the first example we will watch is from Uncharted 4. And I chose this one because of this previous part about dialogues. We have a really simple cutscene with a lot of dialogue, but very few cameras, and it's still very interesting.
Okay. I hope I don't go to hell for this. Shit.
What?
It's empty.
What? Oh, you're such an asshole.
It's your brother. All right, skull and crossbones. Very good sign.
It's Avery's insignia. What is this? Hodie mecum eris in paradiso.
Today you will join me in paradise.
It's what Jesus said to St. Dismas on the cross.
Right.
But what about these numbers here? What do you make of this?
It's some kind of code. Or a phone number.
Come on. The dates.
Huh?
Look. 1659.
It's the year Avery was born.
1699.
Let me guess. The year he died.
Well, by most accounts, yeah, but that means we have date of birth, date of death, and paradise, which means we're looking for Avery's grave.
St. Dismas's cathedral.
Wait a second. Hasn't Rafe been scouring that site for ages already?
Yeah, the cathedral. See these symbols?
Yeah.
These are found on old Scottish gravestones.
Right.
Right? Now, look at this. The layout of this place is really unusual. Here's the cathedral, but the graveyard is way over here.
Rafe's been focusing on the wrong area.
Exactly.
Guys, we're going to Scotland.
All right. Wait up. You do realize that Rafe knows you're coming.
Yeah, we can deal with that when we get there.
Look, that psycho would like nothing better than for you to show up. Plus, he's got Nadine and a whole army to back him up.
Yeah, but he doesn't have this. The biggest pirate treasure of all time is within our grasp.
I thought this was about saving Sam.
It is. Now, come on, it's both, right? We need the treasure so we can save Sam.
How is Elena cool with all this? Jesus, kid.
Look, it's just not that simple.
Look, with all that you two have been through together,
She wouldn't understand this.
you are not giving her enough credit.
I can't take that chance.
Nathan, he's right. Things have changed. Rafe's involved now, and I can take this on my own, really.
Great. Well, thank you for your input, both of you. Excuse me. Hey. Hey, it's me, yeah. No, the reception's lousy.
Something on your mind here?
Look, I realize it couldn't have been easy. All those years away. And I'm sorry for what happened to you. But it's not his fault.
I never said that it was.
It took a long time for him to get out of this game.
You see a gun to his head? He chose this. Okay, he's meant for this life.
You really believe that?
Why are you here, Victor?
Because somebody's got to keep an eye out for him.
No, I'll just see you in a few more weeks. Yeah, I will. Okay. I love you too. Bye. Just told her that the job was going to take a little longer than expected, which is the truth. Right? So come on, what do you say? Sam could still use our help.
Well, I do hear that the weather is particularly fine in Scotland this time of year.
So, let's take a closer look and analyze what we saw. First of all, we are starting from the details. For those who haven't played the Uncharted 4, the 4 previous parts of the game was trying to get this one. So we are starting from the cross. We know it's important, but we don't know where we are and what's happening. And step by step, we are revealing the situations. So we are going wider and we see Sam. So we know he has the cross, and we know all three of our characters are sitting in front of the table. So we have the established situation. We know what's happening and where we are and what's the mood of our scene. The whole sequence, as you could see, is mostly created by using medium lenses on our characters. We have few wider shots to establish the whole situation, especially at the beginning. We have one example of wider shot on the second shot with Sam and the cross, because to be able to catch the cross and Sam and his whole head and body and the cross with his hand, we had to use a specific lens to be able actually to record something like this. And we have just these few small things recorded on longer lenses when we have the details. This whole sequence doesn't include a lot of camera movement. We have really small, natural shake, which causes that this sequence feels more organic, more natural, but we don't have dynamic changes in our sequence. We also have a very established and consequent design of the cutscene. So during all this cutscene, Sam is always on the left side of the screen. Sally is always on the right side of the screen, and their faces are mostly in the strong point of composition. And when we have Nathan, depends who is he talking to. If he talks to both of his friends, he's in the middle. If he's more concentrated on Sam, he is on the right side of the screen. If he is most concentrated on Sally, he is on the left side. So, and it repeats all the time. So we don't have a lot of different cameras, but by nice editing, we have very understandable, interesting story. One interesting shot in here is the one on the bottom. Sam is talking, but our camera just panning a little bit and leaving him behind. And we are focusing on Nathan, and we see that he's thinking, he has an idea. And by this small pan, we are emphasizing that things what some are talking are not important, and they are less and less important every second. But what's happening with Nathan and his idea became more interesting, more important for our story. And moving on, we have a nice way of working with details in here. In the beginning, we have important cross. We had important piece of paper, which are significant for the story. But we also have a phone. Nathan is calling his wife. But we don't have any close-up on it. Why? Because we don't need it. From the conversations, we know, yeah, it's Elena. We see just small phone in the screen. Yeah, so he will call him. He will call her. So we don't need it. We know what we need to know. And more important is what's happening between the characters than if we'll see the phone with Elena, written on the screen. So the important thing is that when you create and design the cutscene, you need to know which elements will be important for the story and you need to emphasize them, or which not so much. In the next part of this sequence, we have a really interesting conversation between Sam and Sally. Nathan is leaving, and we have both of them on the screen. In the background, we still see Nate, like in here, so we remember, yeah, he's there. But the conversation is now only between Sally and Sam. And it became more and more intense. And going through the conversation, our camera became closer and closer and closer to their faces. So we are losing the environment. They are more focused on each other and they are forgetting Nate. And by the camera, we are doing the same. In some point in the end, we don't see Nate in here in the background anymore. We just have Sam. And we are in some way forgetting about him the same way our characters forgot about him. And when he's coming back, we have the same surprise that we are that Nathan is coming back, so he distracts the conversation, and he in some way distracts us the same way as he distracted his friends. And this kind of like a subtle change on the camera may also help us to tell the story. So like in a small sum up of this cutscene, we have a very clear minimalistic sequence, but with using a proper framing, proper lenses, and proper editing from the story, which might be very boring at the beginning when you see the script, we can actually create something very interesting. The next example we will watch, it will be from Horizon Forbidden West. I chose this one because of two reasons. First, we have a really nice sequence when we can see how, by the camera and proper framing and proper movement, we can really control the movement on the character of the screen. But in this sequence, we can find like some really small mistakes or really small things. We can, if we would put like some attention to it and spend slightly more time on it and make small changes, you could improve it a lot. So let's start from the beginning. First, we have Aloy. She is on the left side on the screen for all this beginning. We see the wider shot, we see the danger, we know what's happening. Now, then we are cutting to closer shot to see her reaction to the situation. And later we are going wider and wider to see how the danger grows and how serious the situation developed. So then we are cutting to to different framing. We are using bird perspective, which increases the feeling of scared. We see how big is the danger Aloy is facing, that we see that there is no ground and she needs to think and save herself. So she's jumping. These next two shots, there is a really nice jump, she saved herself, but they could work slightly better. Normally, when we are recording movement, it's most of the time it works better if we keep the directions of the movement. So if she is jumping, so this jump is shown from always like she's traveling from screen right to screen left, or from screen left to screen right. But it's consequent. In here, we have one shot, the first one here, which is traveling from right to left, and the other one, she's traveling from left to right. This one doesn't bother us so much because when we cut, our character is more or less in the same space on the screen. But if maybe we'll work on a slightly different camera in here, maybe it would work slightly better. But our Aloy is safe. We are still staying on this bird perspective. We are traveling, we see she saved herself, she cut these metal parts of the environment, and then we are jumping to the frog perspective. Why? Because even if she's in danger, she's still a strong person, she's still dominating. So when we see her from the frog perspective in here, we know she's strong enough and capable enough to survive. So she makes a decision and she jumps. And again, we have really nice idea. She is jumping from the platform, falling down. She's landing on the other platform. She's safe. That's cool. And this whole sequence is really nice. But if we would keep the camera slightly different, like keep our eye in the middle of the screen here, keep it still on the middle of the screen, because right now she's slightly on the right, and we will keep her still in the middle, then the whole movement and cutting between these two shots will be very fluent. And she will land, and we will have a really nice sequence. And then if we need her to be on the left side of the screen, we can use some different reason for her to move, like she's looking around, so we can move the camera looking around and she'll be on the left side. So these are like, this whole cutscenes is really nice, but they are like really tiny things which can help us to improve it. And moving on, we have Aloy on the left side of the screen. And this part is super nice, because she is on the left side of the screen. See, she starts to run. She's moving to the right side on the screen. She is turning, and we see it. Then we are cut, and she's still running, she's jumping, and all the rest of the sequence, she is traveling from right to left all the time. So we have this nice movement in every cut. When she's jumping, she's flying, she's going to this direction. And in some point, she's starting to fly more into the back of the shot than to the left. And that's fine, still have the movement. She's becoming smaller and smaller on our screen. So we are cutting. And we are cutting to see her in the front. So now she will be bigger and bigger on our screen. And this cut works because we also have Aloy in more or less the same space on the screen. Closer it is, it's better. In here, maybe it would be nice to like edit the camera slightly better to like have her exactly in the same spot, but it doesn't bother us so much. And in here, she's landing, she's running to us, she became bigger, but she still is moving slightly to the left. And in the end of the shot, she is avoiding the following materials, and she's jumping to the left side of our screen. So we still are keeping this movement from right to left. And in the end, we have more static camera, she falls down, she's throwing, and everything stops. So by the camera, we also know, not only by her movement, but by the camera, we know that it's over. This whole race is over, she survived, she is there, she is standing up, and we have a nice shot with vertical composition. We have her, especially with this fire in front of her head, behind her head, we have the strong composition, and it's a strong point of composition. And in the same time, we have small tilt. We are showing the whole environment, and we see how huge was the danger, and in the same time, how good she is that she was able actually to survive. So, summing up this small sequence, we have in here super nice way how we are controlling Aloy in the second part of the cutscene. How we are controlling by movement, by composition, where she's on the screen, how everything is moved, and how everything is fluent. And it's super nice. But also we have this beginning of the cutscene when there are like these teeny tiny details which we could actually improve, and the whole cutscene will be, in general, much better, because these are the details which we don't realize, but after changing them, we think, yeah, it helped a lot. If it's just a small detail. And one more thing. This cutscene is missing a really small detail. When we have the camera close to the character which is falling down very heavily, or the environment is shaking on everything, it would be nice to use camera to emphasize this. So when we had in here, she was falling down, or we have this whole sequence when she jumps on the platform. If the camera was actually standing on the same platform, it would shake with her. So it would be nice to add this small shake to the camera, then the whole sequence will be more natural and we'll experience it in a better way. Additionally, and it's a problem I think in the whole game, we don't have the feeling like a real smooth when we are watching it, because almost every shot in the cutscenes in here are freezing for 1 or 2 frames. It's barely noticeable, but when you like watch it, you realize that it actually bothers you because you don't have this powerful cutting between the shots. So it's like when you will be playing it, just take a look and you will see, or maybe not. Like when you see it, you will never unsee it. So maybe it's not a good idea. But in general, I really love some cutscenes in this game, are really cool and really nice. So play it, I recommend it. Next example will be Modern Warfare. And now we are jumping to the first-person cutscene.
A large group of unknowns moving on the front gate.
Al-Qatala's down there.
A breach Search the perimeter.
Well, put us on the roof.
Roger.
Well, we have to reach Echo fast. We got a lot of hell headed down there.
Begin full on fire.
RPG! You broken?
I'm good.
Echo 3-1, primary extraction failed. We're down on the roof.
Understood. What's the call, Captain?
There's a safe room in the basement. Head there, we'll be right back.
I chose this sequence
A large group of unknowns.
because we have a lot of action and we have first-person perspective. So it's not so easy to show the feelings and emotions and all behaviors of the character, and in the same tell the story what's going on around. So at the beginning we have a nice shot. We are in the helicopter, and we know it not just because of the sound, but also because of the noise we have on camera. So we are flying. We are also using the third rule of the composition, that we have the chain on the one side in the strong points. We have our character, our friend on the right side. Everything is shaking, so it's changing a bit, but it's still there. And in the middle, we see the environment and what's happening down. But suddenly, something explodes. So our camera with our characters is thrown back. We don't know what's happening. Everything is shaking, but everything stabilized, and we are able to find ourselves crawling with our character to the rope. And all of this is performed mostly by the camera. We are catching the line, we are jumping. And first, with the character, we are checking what's actually happening upstairs. So what's the situation, where is our friend, if the helicopter is still there. And later, we are looking down to see what to do, how we can save ourselves. And I really, really like this part of this sequence, because only camera behaves exactly the same way how normally human will react. First, he would check what's happening, and later he will look for the solution. And this is exactly it. Later, we are jumping, falling down, rolling, so we have no idea what's happening, where we are. Everything is flying. We see the ground, we see the sky. Exactly the same if we would jump from the helicopter. We are saved, we are lying, we see our friend falling down, so we know where he is, so we know that the story will continue with him. We are lying. We have this really nice tilt on the camera. Tricky part about working with the first-person cutscenes is very often we just parent camera to the head, but it doesn't work that way, because one thing is our head, other thing is our brain and our eyes, because we are constructed the way that our head, our brain adjusts what we see to be understandable for us. So even if we are lying in bed all the time with the head like this, we still have we don't have this permanent feeling that something is off and rotated. And in this point, if the character would just lie like this, we'll see everything rotated 90 degrees. It wouldn't work for us, so we just have this small tilt that show us, yeah, something is wrong. Yeah, he is lying, but in the same time, everything is understandable. And later, we have the whole explosion. Everything shakes. This explosion influences us, influences our friend, everything, including camera. And this is what was missing in Horizon. That if explosion was close to enough, it will influence everything. So we have this nice shake, then everything comes down, everything, our friend is leaving, we are starting to get up, so our ground is again parallel to the camera, and we can move on and continue with our story. And that's our sequence. In here, the camera really nicely supports the story and tells the story. So we are able, with all of the chaos what is happening around, we are able to understand what was happening, when it's happening, where are all important elements of our cutscenes. Also, we have this like natural reactions in our cameras, like looking on the helicopter, looking down, or trying to escape from the falling helicopter. And the last example I will show you is from Dying Light 2. It's actually a cutscene created by my friend Janek Sojka when we were together working on Dying Light 2. And I want to show you this one because we don't have like a long dialogue in here. We don't have a very action sequence in here. But in the same time, we have a very interesting story. And can we turn the lights off? Because this is very dark, so I would love everybody to see everything from the beginning.
We got company. Volatile.
Don't move. You can't handle that.
I know. I've seen this fucker.
So as you can see, it's a very simple cutscene. We are there, monster came, monster stand, monster leave. That's all. But still, we have a very interesting story. So we have a really nice third role composition. We have a symmetric one. At the beginning, everything, we know where we are, nothing wrong is happening. So we are using our hand to open the elevator. Our focus is on the hand. We are struggling, so camera is showing this. We are able to open the doors, and our focus is changing. Now the hands are blurred, and the sharp thing is what is happening next. So we want to check what's next. And then our monster appeared. So we have very strong reaction. We want to escape. So our main hero, Aiden, is moving back and hiding behind the wall. It's very natural because probably we'll do the same. We want to hide from the monster. In here, we have a really nice composition, and in here we are working not only with camera, but also with lighting. Because of the shadows, because of the silhouette of the monster. So we have this third rule in here, but it's tilted. So it shows that Aiden is not just standing in front in this elevator and looking, but he's actually hidden behind the wall, and he's just looking what was happening. And normally when you want to check what's happening next to the door, you are not doing like in the cartoony way like this. You're like normally tilting your head. And this is presented also in this cutscene to make it more natural. In here, on this next part, we have a really nice example how we can change the lens during first-person cutscene. This is very difficult and very tricky thing, because very often if we'll change the lens, we'll feel that something is off. It's not working, it's weird, we are not with the character anymore. In here, we have Aiden. He, in this moment, more or less safe, so he wants to observe. So by changing for longer lenses, we are getting slightly closer to the monster, and at the same time, we feel the same as Aiden. We are focusing on him. But monsters start to move, goes our way, so we are scared, we are moving back, and our lens came back to the normal, so we are not focused on him anymore. Now our priority is to survive. So we are hiding. For the next few parts, we know that monster is there. So we are trying to check if he's there, but in the same time, we don't want him to see us, so we are moving back and hiding. And this, back and forth, back and forth. And it's also very natural, because probably we'll do the same. We want to know where the danger is, but we really don't want this danger to catch us. And when we know that the monster is coming closer and closer, we are just hiding. And this is a really nice example of timing. It's not like yeah, we hide, then monster came, a monster went out. No, we are still waiting, because we don't know what's happened. Maybe this monster just went away and we are safe. or maybe he's still there. But we know that he was close, so we don't want to risk. And then we have a really nice shot when we also have a roll of third when we have the wall, which is taking 1/3 of our screen. And in the darkness, we see first the eyes. So we are working with lighting. And then our monsters appear. He came to the light. We also have it's the same composition all the time. But we have the lighting, which is showing our monster in the middle of the screen. And we are scared because the camera is we have this feeling that we are down, so we have this frog perspective, and we are scared, and we have this like small movement with the expectation, what is going to happen next. Then our monsters decide to, yeah, something interesting is somewhere there, so let's go there. And we are still there. We are not just, oh, let's stand up, let's go there, move on with the story. No, we are waiting. We are waiting not only till the monster disappears, we are observing him, but he disappeared, and we are still waiting until the all noises are gone. And then we know, yeah, maybe now it's safe. So we are going into the middle. Our camera is not tilted anymore, so we know we are safe. We are going up, looking around. We know it's more or less safe, and we can go. So this sequence has, even without the dialogues, even without the complex story and adventure, tells us a lot and shows us a lot of emotions, mostly by the camera. The camera describes not only the behavior of our character, but also emotions and feelings, and emphasize them. We are also using, as I mentioned, lighting and sound. These are all other elements of creating a cutscene, which influence the camera. Our shot, when in the end, when we were waiting till the monster is gone, we were waiting not till he will be gone from the screen. No, we were waiting till the noises will go. We have this nice example of here how to change the lenses. It was understandable, it wasn't bothering you, it was helping the story. And we have example of a great timing. We are not rushing through the story. When we have to wait, we are waiting. When we have to move fast and hide, we are hiding. So we are telling the story by the camera, because we are in almost the whole cutscenes, we don't see it in any part of him, just the hands at the beginning. And that's all. The story is told just by the camera. And that's all. I hope you like it. I hope I encourage you to watch more cutscenes, take a closer look at your work and others' work. What is important? I'm not showing you some of the mistakes because I want to laugh or something like this. I'm showing this to you because nobody is perfect. Even the most amazing games, even our project, we all make mistakes. Sometimes it's better to learn from others' mistakes. Sometimes we can be inspired by them. So I'm showing this to you to encourage you to analyze not only the things you do, but things which others do, which you appreciate. Like for me, my hero is Last of Us 2. It's for me, looking at the cameras and cutscenes, the best game. And that mostly inspires you. That's why I was sitting a lot. And in all of my previous presentation, you can see that Last of Us is appearing. So watch them, analyze them, look closely, talk to your friends, think about compositions, cameras, editing, learn from movie industry because it's much older than game industry and it has so much time to develop all of this editing and composition rules. Learn from them. I hope you like it. I hope I inspired you in some way. If you want to contact me, please write me, message me, whatever you want. My previous presentation more about cutscene pipeline in all of the elements are mostly on YouTube, on Digital Dragons channels, so you can easily find them. And I hope you like it. And if you have any question, I will be happy to answer them now.
So thank you, Kasia.